Bread was the food of life during the Middle Ages. In medieval England, bread was a key food staple, vital for the daily nourishment of most people. At this moment of history, when finding food was a serious daily struggle, the average person consumed 2 to 3 pounds each day. Wealthy medieval households ate white bread made with expensive wheat flour. Brown bread, made from whole grains such as rye, would not be served in manor homes, since it was thought to be peasant food. As for peasants, bread was the main staple of their diet. Dough would be made with affordable ingredients like rye or barley ground into flour. On the subject of bread quality, the heavier and darker your loaf, the lower in social status you ranked. It is interesting to note this fact, since in modern times our associations with quality bread are the exact opposite. Here is another interesting point about how the importance of bread making even made its way into our modern language. The term upper crust is believed by some historians to have come about because it was the top part of the loaf which was not soiled by ashes and wood from the fire. Of course, the bottom part of the loaf would often be soiled by ashes and bits of residue from the fire in the oven. Thus, the cleanliness and quality of the upper crust of loaf was perceived as characteristics of the aristocracy and upper classes. During medieval times, bread was consumed at each meal. Different kinds of bread were consumed by different classes of society. It was the quality of bread and types of grains used in the recipe which influenced who would consume a particular kind of loaf. The types of bread made depended on which grains were used in the baking process. The kinds of grain grown depended on where one lived, the climate in that local area, and the availability of particular grains. In addition, the quality of bread and who would consume it also depended on the types of grains used in the bread recipe. So, with bread holding prime importance in the daily life of medieval England, what were the most common types consumed, and by who? Types of bread consumed in medieval England. White breads were the most expensive kind consumed in medieval England, and known as food for the elite. Wheat was the grain used in the highest quality white breads and required good soil conditions to grow, which limited its availability. Due to the cost of growing, cultivating, and processing the flour, only wealthy classes like aristocracy and large landholders could afford to purchase or grow wheat. For quality white bread, its flour was finely ground, with the least amount of grit in it after the grinding process. During this period, physicians thought white bread made from wheat was the healthiest kind of bread consumed. The types of white bread consumed by wealthy families in medieval England included pandiment, which was made with finely ground wheat flour, sifted 2 or 3 times. Manchet bread was a quality white loaf just below pandiment and made from double sifted wheat flour. Next in terms of quality was wastel bread, also made from fine white flour, though it was not sifted as finely as pandiment bread. Cocket was another white bread made from wheat flour, which was harder and cheaper in composition. Now for the class of breads considered below white loaves in medieval England. Cheat was made from less refined whole wheat flour without coarse bran and not as white in color, though still consumed by the wealthy. Maslin was a type of bread in which wheat was blended with barley or rye flour and was commonly consumed by higher class peasants. Blending these grains helped make more valuable wheat supplies last longer. Maslin would also be used as a lower quality household bread at a manor home. In the category of brown breads, which were the lowest status when it came to quality, there were a number of varieties consumed by the peasant classes. Rye was a dark bread commonly consumed in medieval times by the peasant class, which was the vast majority of people living at that time. Brown bread made from barley or oat flour was also working class nourishment. In the cold, damp north and west of England, people were able to grow barley and oats for flour. An example of this type of bread made from oats would be clap bread. For peasants, life in medieval times was a daily struggle against many challenges. Unfortunately, inadequate harvests were common in medieval times. Consequently, one had to use any ingredients available to make their daily loaves. To survive these times of poor harvest and famine, horse bread, a low-quality bread, was made. Beans, dried split peas or other legumes, oats, rye, chestnuts, and acorns were used along with whatever other ingredients one could find to make their daily bread. Originally intended for horses, it was cheap to make, which was necessary when households faced tough times. Bread was not just for eating in medieval England. Trenchers were large loaves of brown bread which served as a plate. Servants at manor homes would cut thick slices of large brown loaves, then hollow the slices out in the center. After use by the wealthy classes to serve soup and meats, juices from the meal would soak into the trencher, giving it more flavor. Servants would collect these used trenchers and usually give them as charity to the poor. Tort was a brown bread that contained husks as well as flour and thought to be used for making trenchers. Thank you for supporting us at Medieval to Modern. Please be sure to watch our next episode or one shown at the end of this video. Also, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and spread the word about this channel so we can create more exciting content. I wish you good tidings as we remember that sharing knowledge has been a noble deed throughout the ages.